We are live, brothers. Give it a few moments. And as there will also be a recording of this so we can get it out to the people. Alrighty. Welcome everybody out there to another edition of P&L TV. That is Road New Lambda TV. We got a good one here tonight. Got a couple of special guests with us to tackle a major topic. So let's go ahead and get on into it. Uh, I have brother Benjamin D. Jackson and brother Prince Hutchinson with me tonight. And go ahead and introduce yourselves, brothers.
Well, my name is Benjamin D. Jackson. I'm a member of Alpha Sigma Lambda out of Dallas, Texas. I'm also outside of Alpha Fraternity Alpha Phi Fraternity Incorporated, and I'm also the education chair for I Vote, I Voice as well.
All right, welcome, brother Jackson, and we have brother Hutchinson.
Yes, absolutely. Good evening, everyone. Brother Prince Hutchinson, member of Road New Lambda chapter out of Carrollton, Texas. Within the chapter, I oversee our national programs. So this is a very, very important topic tonight, something that's very near and dear to my heart. We're talking about voteless people or hopeless people. So let's kind of get into it and break down these ballots.
Awesome. Thank you for that, brothers. We definitely appreciate y'all being with us tonight, and we hope that we can get out some good information to our community. So, as brother Hutchinson mentioned, we are talking about breaking down the ballot tonight. Everybody knows that, or if you don't know, we want to inform you that your midterms elections are coming up, and we always talk about, we've been on this platform a couple of times before. Brother Jackson, you joined us as well, and we've always talked about how everybody comes out to vote just for presidential elections, right? And we always say, oh, it's election time, and you only hear about election time when it comes every 4 years, right? But we never hear about our local, our midterm elections. So let's just talk about a little bit about what are midterm elections and why they are important.
That's a great question. Right now, we're really in a state of an emergency. And so that's the importance of why we're coming on TV today. I think we got a little of the jitters out. And it's so important that we start talking to our community about these midterm elections. During the midterm elections, you have 435 congressional seats that are up for re-election. Those are your Maxine Waters, your AOCs, those people who sit in that realm. There are 435 seats, and they run every 2 years. You have over 35 senators who will be up for re-election this year as well. And they sit on their side of the Congress and the Senate for over 6 years once they're elected. So those are the federal level. And then at the state level, you have over 39 governors who are up for re-election all across the United States, as well as a plethora of other local elections, such as your district attorney, your state attorneys, your local judges, some mayors, some school boards. So the midterm elections are those elections whereas you won't see the presidential election on the ballot, but these are your local and your state elections. And that's why it's so important that we increase the numbers of African Americans in the communities that we serve to get out and to go vote.
So I like that. But I want you to dumb it down. I want both of y'all to dumb it down. For me, say I'm a young person that's voting for the first time, or say, I haven't voted in a while. I haven't really been paying attention to what's going on. What's at stake here for these midterm elections? Like, what specifically affects me?
So look, I'll start, Ben. I'll kind of let you clean me up. I'll give it to you in very layman terms. So for me, I'm someone who I haven't been involved in this process for a very, very long time at all. I know for me, a lot of the information that I gain and what I've learned about this process has just been via conversation with other brothers that are heavily engaged with this. I leverage the internet quite a bit. I go out and Google, just simple things just to learn what's on the ballot, and look for ways to break it down in terms of what it means to me. I think that's pretty much the majority of most people that are going to the ballots to oppose the vote. They probably have a very surface level understanding to that extent. I think for us and what's at stake here is, a lot of the things that impact us on a day-to-day basis is really going to be decided at this election. So, gas prices, our public roads, tolls, taxes on our homes and things of that nature. So, a lot of those things will most definitely go into effect and be taken in consideration. So that's why, for me, those are things that impact me day to day. Very, very important. So that's my version of it. Then I'll kind of let you give the more detailed version of kind of what this means.
Put the hay where the horses can get it. You're right, P. Hut. You're correct. It's the funding of education. Do we care what's being taught in our educational system today? Do we care about economic opportunities within our neighborhoods? Whether one neighborhood gets HEB built because of the people that live there versus other neighborhoods who are food desert. Do we care about so many things? Who gets prosecuted and who doesn't? What crimes are being charged for one community versus that of another? Do we care about the mayor and the resources and the allocation of those resources in your particular neighborhoods? Do we care about the Texas Board of Education with those 15 people, whether they decide to teach about African-American history and Native American history and other people of color history versus do they want to sanitize and tell a different history other than what should be taught? That's what these elections are truly all about. And we're talking about at the federal level, when you talk about if you support the president or if you don't, those people will put forth laws and agendas where you want voting rights, whether you want women access to health care and the right to privacy. A lot of those things have been pushed back down to the states. And if they're pushed back down to the states, your governor, your lieutenant governor, your state house representative, and your state senators down in Austin, they're the ones who are going to decide what laws and how we're going to govern this state for the next 4 years. And so that's why the midterm elections are very important. And I say it's not the most important election of my life, but what we're trying to create is consistent voters all the time. If we're voting on the dog catcher, I want to ensure that dog catcher is taking care of catching the dogs in my neighborhood and not just in Highland Park. So that's why it's so important that everybody gets out and vote. And Black Lives Matter has to matter more than just a T-shirt, but ensure that our power is not left at that ballot box and get out and vote.
I appreciate that. I definitely think that is very well articulated for people that may need to know exactly why we need to be voting and why this actually matters to us. So let's we know now that we're talking about midterm elections coming up, we know why it's important and we know that they are coming up. Let's talk about what are the important dates that we have coming up. And Brother Jackson, I'll go ahead and shoot this one over to you.
Shout out to my great brother, Reuben Griffin, and what he's doing at the district level. We're asking all our brothers in the communities that we serve to be all in on early voting dates. What our communities and the communities that we serve, we need more time. You have 2 weeks to get it done. Early voting has already started this past Monday, October the 24th, and it goes all the way till November the 4th. You have 2 weeks, and most counties, the counties like Dallas County, Tarrant County, or Collin County, and Denton County. If you're registered in any one of those counties, let's say Dallas County, you can vote at any precinct in Dallas County anywhere during those 2 weeks. Right now, the times are open from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Next week, the times will be open 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. This weekend that's coming up is the only weekend you get to early vote. So we need to capitalize on these dates because we don't want to wait till November the 8th, 2022, because it could rain. It could be something could happen in the family, or many things could disrupt. So we get 2 weeks. Let's get out and plan a time of when you want to go vote and ensure that you get other family members or 20 friends, contact them and encourage them to exercise the right within these next 2 weeks to get it done. So those dates are October the 24th to November the 4th. You have Souls to the Polls, which is coming this Sunday, October the 30th. And then also you have Halloween, which is October the 31st. Many of you go out to your churches. Take that opportunity if you go to Friendship West or DC3 to use that opportunity of many other churches within the Dallas community to get out and they'll exercise your right to vote.
And we do try to make this public knowledge because a lot of people don't know that a lot of employers out there, they will give you like 2 hour span that is off time for you specifically to go out and vote. So take advantage of that if your employer does it. If your employer does not do it, take advantage of the fact that, like Brother Jackson said, you do have those 2 weeks to early vote. And if you go vote now, a lot of those polls are empty. A lot of those places you can walk right in and right out versus waiting until the actual election day, and having only that one opportunity to go do that. So make sure that we're taking advantage of that as well.
Can I say this though? I really have to reemphasize it's really a state of emergency because so far in these past 3 days, which is today was the fourth day, within these 3 days, it's 1,401,000 plus people that are registered to vote in Dallas County alone, and less than 100,000 has cast a vote in these past 3 days. That's why I'm saying it's a state of emergency. We really have to push up the numbers to encourage people to get out and actually go vote. Whether it's you take your coworkers and you find that early voting place and y'all take that lunch and you go to vote. Whether you're reaching back out to your high school alumni association. This weekend is PV, U of H, and TSU's homecoming. If you're going down there, encourage those people and take the opportunity to let them know early voting is going on. When you get back to your home safe and sound and you recoup, take that opportunity on Sunday from 1 to 6 to get out and go vote. We got to encourage and educate the people on the dates, the times, and ensure that they're getting out and casting their ballots.
Yeah, and Walter, I'll add something to that. I think it's important also for people to understand this is not a very time-consuming process at all. When I tell you I went in, voted on Monday, very first day, in and out in 10 minutes. Very quick, very easy. There's not a lot of people there. So it's very easy for you to be able to go in, vote, take care of your civic duty, and be done. You can be out. So, for those of you all who may feel like this is going to be extremely time consuming, I'm going to lose my entire lunch, that's not the case at all. So please, please, please get out and get it done. Because I can guarantee you, the closer we get to election day, the more people are going to be showing up to try to vote. So save yourself the time. Get it done now.
Definitely. Thank you for that, brothers. Now that I know, the important dates and I know the dates that I can go out there and cast my vote. Now, what do I need at the polls? What do I need to bring with me to ensure that I don't have a hard time and I can just get in there and make sure that I'm able to cast my vote?
I know at the last session, a lot of things came out, and it's been a lot of negative things about what can I use to in order for me to cast my ballot and cast my vote. One of the things that we want to emphasize is you can use your driver's license or a Texas ID. Even if it's expired, you can use that as long as it's not expired more than 4 years. Take that. If someone called me today and said, "Hey, I lost my ID. What else can I use?" If you have a passport, which you should have a passport, take your passport and use that as a way for you to also cast your ballot as well. There are various other forms and other IDs that you also can use. If you don't have any one of these IDs, then what you need is a reasonable impediment document that you're going to complete at the polling location when you go. Ask for that document and provide them with a phone bill with your address on it. Insurance page bill that shows your name that's on it as well. These are other documents that you can use, a light bill, and fill out that reasonable impediment document, because all it's declaring is, yes, that's who I am, and yes, this is the address where I stay. And what we're asking for you, do not complete a provisional ballot. Do not complete a provisional ballot. And that's the importance of why we're encouraging everyone to do early voting, is because if there's a problem today, we have time to go rectify it tomorrow. If there's a problem today, we have time to November the 8th to rectify the situation. So no provisional ballots whatsoever. It's a last resort. And if you do a provisional ballot, then you have 6 days after the election to cure that ballot and provide whatever documentations to prove that, yes, I am rightfully able to vote within this election.
Now I got a question for you, Ben. If I'm
Yes.
a collegiate student, and I may not have a driver's license yet, or I may not have a Texas ID, even though I should, I may not have it. Am I able to use my college ID to vote?
You know what? That's one of the things that's used for voter suppression. You're not able to use your college ID, but you can use your gun license, which doesn't even have your picture on it. So I'm sure you have a gun license that you're able to use. But if you don't have a gun license, please remember the document is called a reasonable impediment document. And fill that document out, provide another substance of ID. Some people have used um, their insurance bill. Some people use a light bill. Any one of those documents should be sufficient. Look on the Secretary of State for the state of Texas and look for any one of those reasonable documents that you are able to use to supplement in case you don't have a gun license like Brother Heron, in case you don't have a Texas ID or a passport like Brother Hutchinson. Any one of those documents, then you can use a reasonable impediment document so that you can cast your vote. And that's why we have to encourage our community to get out an early vote, because those are some of the things that'll trip us up, and we can't wait till November the 8th, and so that they can block us from voting.
Appreciate that. Okay, now I have the dates. I know when I can vote. I know what I need to bring to my poll. Now what is on my ballot? How I need to know information about who's there, what am I voting for, and what to look out for. So, Brother Hutchinson, if you can tell me what's on my ballot.
Yeah, so I mean, we got several things that's on the ballot. I mean, and that kind of ranges from different propositions that you'll be voting on. There could be things on there from people running for Supreme Court. Of course, the more popular one that's gotten the most attention is the governor's race. So we have pretty much that race between Beto O'Rourke and Greg Abbott. We got Lieutenant Governor on there, as well as our Attorney General. A lot of these different roles, are very, very much so available on the internet. You can look these up by term and see exactly what they mean to us. Some of the ones that may not be as common, like the Land Commissioner or the Agriculture Commissioner or Comptroller or the Railroad Commissioner, those things are all important. They play very, very important roles in terms of what we do on a day-to-day basis here in the state of Texas. So very, very important to make sure we're getting out and we're voting for those things. I know that there are a number of Texas House district seats that are up for grabs, several out there. I will say that for most of the seats that I've spoken about thus far, from governor to lieutenant governor to attorney general and so on, a lot of those seats are occupied today by all Republicans. So I will say, if there's something that you don't like in terms of what's going on, or you're not in favor of, some of the things that you've seen, this is a great opportunity to let your voice be heard. You don't address those things by complaining to your neighbor, going on social media to rant. You show up to the polls and you vote. And as Brother Jackson mentioned, you take somebody with you. Bring several people with you. I mean, share it with your networks. Just like we have these popcorn fundraisers and all these things we do for our kids, you
Come
send
on
it
now.
out. We need to have the same energy for the polls, because again, this stuff is super, super important, and it really impacts what we do on a day-to-day basis. So again, a lot of this information is available right there on the internet. It'll kind of give you who all the candidates are, several candidates running for all these different positions. But the best advice I can give you is when you go online, you can go to your county that you live in, and you can look up, get a copy of your sample ballot. It'll list all of the people running for those different positions. You can look them up at their website to kind of see what their platform is. Great opportunity for you to educate yourself before you show up to the poll. And that's one of the things that I feel like I had to get better at, because years before, I would just show up to the polls and
Look
go
at the
vote.
last
And that
name.
wasn't the way to do things. And that's just a moment of transparency here for me.
Oh, yes.
But since, I've started now to look at that sample ballot, see who's on it, and look at their platform, see what they mean, what they're running for, and what they represent, and what can they do for people that look like me and the people I care about the most. And that's how my vote is casted. So I encourage, educate yourself before going to the polls. That way you can make sure you're making informed decisions that's going to benefit you and the ones you love.
Awesome.
Can I add to that? Because that is where we're trying to mature the communities that we serve to get to, pull a sample ballot and ensure you know who you're voting for. But we don't want that to be an excuse for you not to go out and vote, because a lot of times people use that as, well, I don't know who's on my ballot, so it doesn't matter, I'm not going to vote. I need you to go out and pick and choose something. I need you to get out there and go vote. And that's why we're encouraging these 2 weeks. If you have the time to pull your sample ballot and you have the time to do the research, pull your League of Women's Voters Guide at www.vote411votes or vote411.org, www.vote411.org. And they have all those candidates, what they stand for. They have your sample ballot there as well. And you can do your research. We're a nonpartisan organization. And so I don't care if you vote for Democrat or Republican or Libertarian or Green Party. But what I do care for is that you do get out there and you definitely go vote. If we could put that or the sample ballot back up for a moment, I just want to harp on a couple of things that are very important and that a lot of people are like, what does the land commissioner do? What does the railroad commissioner do? Or the attorney general, outside of just collecting child support for most people? The lieutenant governor, which a lot of people are not hearing about, you might see some commercials, is the second highest person in charge over the state. It's like the vice president for the state of Texas. This person is over the Senate. There are 31 Texas senators from all across these 254 county state that are up for re-election, and they run every 4 years. You've heard of people like Royce West, Boris Miles out of Houston. There are a lot of different others that you might have heard of that are Texas senators, and the lieutenant governor runs that body of government for the not the executive branch, but the legislative branch down there. The attorney general, you've heard about them. A lot of people might have seen child support, but it's much more than that. When you talk about the woman's right to healthcare and access to healthcare, when you talk about student loan forgiveness, you have a lot of attorney generals now that are suing the federal government because they felt like that these people do not deserve to get student loan forgiveness. These are some of those races that are very important and why we need to be engaged in that space. When you look at Breonna Jefferson, when she got killed and those cops went and killed her, the attorney general did not charge those cops in that case. But as soon as President Biden became in and the Department of Justice looked at that case, they went in and charged those cops. So that's the importance of why you need to be involved and engaged in this type of space. For those people out there that want dispensaries in Texas, for those who feel like that we need to have it here and you don't have to go to Denver or you don't have to go to any other state, you can get it right here, then you need to be engaged in your land commissioner and your agricultural commissioner as well. These are those races that are not sexy, you don't hear much about, but it's important that we get engaged in those spaces as well. Go ahead. Texas House District, there are 150 people. They run every 2 years. This ballot is tailored for Carrollton Alphas because they serve the Carrollton area and more. And so that's why they saw District 61. But there are 150 people who run every 2 years and they're up for re-election this year. So that's why it's important. These are the people that brought out that legislative policy last year over the voter suppression laws. You saw some people ran to DC so they could block and not getting certain laws passed. They blocked and created laws so restricts our teachers on what they're able to teach around critical race theory, which is not even taught in public school. These is what the midterm elections are about. Either you for it or you're against it, but you have to get out there and you have to cast your vote.
I see Brother Williams joined us and he asked about the county clerk.
That's a great question that I don't have an answer to. Your county clerk does a lot as far as that I do not know. I'm not going to even get up here and stand up front on what the county clerk does But they do a lot, and it's not something that's well publicized. It's something that's not well known. But the county clerk does a lot, and I don't want to say what it is because I'm not familiar. Tell Brother Williams to Google it and type it in the chat for us, and we can answer that question. But that's a good question. I don't have an answer to that.
Gotcha. And we will be putting out a lot more information. This is just scratching the surface. Coming along up in the next few days, we will definitely make sure that we are putting out a lot of information surrounding this midterm election. We did have a question that hit the chat a little earlier, and I want to go back to about what I should bring to the polls, and then who's actually eligible to vote. So Brother Best asked, he said, recently in Florida, ex-cons have been arrested for voting in the last election. If you have served your full sentence or fulfilled your probation or parole terms, can you vote?
That's a good question. In the state of Texas, yes. When I normally do on voter registration, I ask people, are you still on paper? And they know how to answer that. And if they're not on paper, they fulfill their commitment, then yes. And they're not on probation or anything like that. They fulfilled their requirements, then yes, they can register and they can vote in the state of Texas. But if you are still on paper, if you're still on probation, you're still paying those fees, then no, unfortunately, you're not able to vote in the state of Texas. But you have a lot of people that are in jail now for traffic warrants, for other things that are not a felon. Those people can register and can ask for a ballot by mail. But unfortunately, tomorrow is the last date to request that ballot by mail. But yes, they are eligible to get out and go vote. But we leave that low-hanging fruit, and they don't actually get out and go vote.
Yeah, and just to add to that, Brother Jackson, I do know that one of the important pieces to that is they have to register again to vote. So, if you went in as a registered voter, become a felon, you serve your time, you come out, you just can't go vote. You got to register to vote again. So I think that's just one piece I wanted to add to it.
And it happened to our friend who was out in Tarrant County. And so, when you've seen what happened, Cheryl Mason happened to her. And they have a very important district attorney race right there. All of that could have really stopped at the district attorney. And I remember when George Floyd died in New Pi Lambda had us march from UTA, and then they went up to the police station. And then there was this prominent lawyer, who articulated all those killings that were going on and the lynches that were going on black men in Tarrant County. That district attorney now is not running anymore for that race. You have two people, one leaving the state house in Texas, and a new person that's also up and coming who worked in that district attorney's office, who's also running as well. We need to be engaged in who is our district attorney in our particular counties. And they're all up for re-election all across the state of Texas, because that's where we're losing a lot of the battles. When people are getting prosecuted, or whether somebody doesn't get prosecuted, it's at the desk, and that philosophy and perspective is at that district attorney. And it's important you pull those sample ballots, who is actually running, and ensure that we're engaging in that space and not waiting till someone gets shot dead in the street and we're out protesting when we didn't cast our vote. And so that's why we're in a state of emergency. That's why these 2 weeks are so important. And we got to sound the alarm and encourage our family, our networks, and our friends to get out and early vote.
Thank you for that, brother. The last topic that I want to bring up for tonight, like I said, we're going to do a series of these just to make sure that we are trying to get out this information. So just this is tuning in for show episode 1 of this series. So just make sure that you are tuned in with us. The last one I want to talk about is what are the important issues of our communities. Brothers, can you tackle that one for me?
I thought Brother Hutchins would go first.
Yeah.
They're talking about what's
you've been on fire, Ben. We're gonna let you take it, Jackson. I'll jump in, man.
The most important thing that we're not talking about is what's going on in our educational system. That state board, Texas State Board, were 15 people that are voted on all across the state, and they represent those districts. And what's going on in the educational system today? There is a systematic effort to wipe out Black history and people of color history out of our educational system. They're handcuffing our educators on what they're able to teach. And it's important that our educators who need to vote in masses, either you agree with it or you don't. Somebody needs to be fired, or you need to continue to hire the people who are there. Those 15 people need to be researched and ensure that people are voting on the Texas Board of Education. You talk about a woman's right to privacy, which is what Roe v. Wade really was about, and then a woman's right to access to health care. That's important as well. You can't vote on your Supreme Court justice. Those people are there for a lifetime, but you do vote on your Texas State Supreme Court on the civil side, and then you have a criminal side. If you get convicted and you face the death penalty, it has to go to the state Supreme Court on the criminal side. And they review that case to say, yes, you get executed, or no, this case is invalid, push it back down to the lower courts. If there's a situation with mask mandates, as you saw in Dallas County, you saw when Judge Clay Jenkins said, in my county, we're going to wear masks. Well, the state attorney general sued us and said, no, there is no mask mandates. And then it gets to the Texas Supreme Court. Whoever is a political party of influence there, they decide, yes, you could have mask mandates, or no, you can't have mask mandates. And they tend to lean with the political party that the governor is. So see how all this stuff is connected and plays a part. If you want Roe v. Wade overturned, it's based off your state rights. That's determined on your state attorney general, where he sues these people and say the Roe v. Wade, women are not able to have access to abortions, or they don't have access to privacy with their doctors. Then he's going to sue that, and it goes to the Texas Supreme Court. They could say no, women don't have the right, and they could be second-class citizens or not. But when we talk about African Americans and what are important issues to us, it's really day to day. If you're seeing eggs are costing $5, if you're looking at inflation and you're looking at all these things that are going on in our community, and there's more money than there is money, that's what our people are concerned about. Our people are concerned about safe neighborhoods and ensuring there's no crime in their neighborhoods, and that's your district attorney. Our people are concerned about job opportunities and making a living wage. Those are some of the things that our people are concerned about, and our education of our children and what's going on in these schools. And if a pandemic hits and my kid has to come home and get educated, and then I have to go to work, those are some of the things that our people are talking about in our communities. But it's so important that you get engaged in this electoral process, because these people are deciding whether resources come to your neighborhood or whether they go to somebody else. They're deciding to say where African Americans started this pandemic, like the lieutenant governor who did, or as somebody else. They decide who gets respected and who doesn't. When you talk about those people coming from Haiti, and then the people out there on the whips, do y'all remember these things? We get amnesia, but who is in charge? Do you agree with it or don't you? These are those 2 weeks. The times they told us to go down to Austin, this is those 2 weeks. Do you care? And will you connect your ballot to the leadership of this state and ensure that people have the hearts and the minds of the people? And it's not just politics over people, but it's people over politics, and people actually care. And we need to put people who understand our plight, who understand our perspective, and ensure that they get into these positions of authority, so that our communities don't continue to get marginalized. And my last thing I want to say, the down ballot is important. I understand Beto versus Abbott is on the ballot. I understand you see those commercials. Those down ballots, those people of color are running, and they don't get as much play as Beto and Abbott. Don't leave that ballot without filling out the down ballot, because those elections matter. Those judges that you run into the courtrooms and you see, those judges who are going to face when our kids are being railroaded through this juvenile justice system, those judges in family court, when you go get a divorce, they matter. Make sure you're casting that down ballot in Tarrant County, Denton County, and in Dallas County. Encourage 20 people, the power of 20, to get out and go vote, because it does matter. It's a state of emergency. We got to sound the alarm, and we got to do more than what we've done in the past.
I'll try to add a few things to that. That's going to be a hard act to follow, Brother Jackson.
You got it, brother.
Knock that out the park, man. But, just some of the things that, I consistently hear, you kind of touched on it, the inflation piece. Going to the grocery store to get grocery for your home, that amount of money you used to spend before, you don't get as many groceries as you used to. Same thing with gasoline. You go to the gas station, try to fill up. Typically $40 will get you right. But now It's a lot more now. So you're at the gas pumps a lot more. So those are things that we're hearing a lot about from an inflation standpoint. You talk about safety. The guns. Gun control. Man, that's a huge one, man. People having the right to just open carry. People kind of discrediting or diminishing the importance of taking a gun safety course. To be able to go out and carry. Those things aren't requirements anymore, and people are able to get those things. There's just so many things that's happening in our schools, and being a parent of daughters of myself that are in school every day, that's something I worry about as a parent, as a dad. So really, really want to make sure that we do a better job of making sure not only our communities are safe, but also our schools and our kids when they leave us every morning to go to school. I would also say, just the importance of focusing on mental health. Man, so that's one of the things that I think in the Black community has often been, undersold or not given enough attention. But I really think there's some important conversations that need to be had there. We need funding, support, and more people that look like us having those important conversations as often as possible. I'm fortunate enough to have some people that work in that profession that I can bounce ideas off of and kind of learn a little bit more about what's taking place in that space. But really, really an area of opportunity for us from a mental health standpoint. For me, the last piece I'll kind of mention along the lines of the education piece, just making sure that our HBCUs are getting proper allocation of funding in the state.
Come on now.
There's so many PWIs who have unlimited resources when it comes to funding, but when it comes to some of our HBCUs, those resources aren't allocated the same. Why don't we deserve those access to that same funding? We should have access to that same funding. So making sure that we're electing people that are going to shine a light on, the HBCU experience, and making sure that, we have a seat at the table and we're represented when things are being voted on or bills are being passed. That's super, super important to me. So those are some things and some issues that's in my community and the people that I'm around on a regular basis. They're talking about and they want to see change.
And when we do part 2, we'll talk about those 150 House representatives and those 31 senators who puts it on the governor's desk. And when they do the allocation of that budget and that committee, and how UT is getting all these millions and millions of dollars compared to just 1 million that's going to Prairie View, there's so many that's going to Texas Southern. That is decided by those 150 state House reps and those 31 Texas senators. That's what's on the ballot. That's the thing that we have to do. How do I connect those issues of school safety and Uvalde and what happened down there? And the governor says, well, it could have been worse. And then what is this legislation going to do that's going to meet these next year for 50 days or so? How many other days they're meeting for those couple of months? What legislative and policies and allocations of money will they put towards mental health and school safety? Or will they continue to do the same old thing, which is symbolism but no substantive actions? And it's up to us to say enough is enough. Get out there and cast your vote. You're on mute, brother. Good job.
Brothers, I definitely want to thank you for joining us tonight. A couple of takeaways that I want to leave with the public. Here are important dates up on the screen right now. Like we talked about earlier, the first day of early voting started on October 24th, and it runs all the way through November 4th. So you still have plenty of time to make sure that you are getting to the polls to early vote. Election day is November 8th. They also the day of service. So the poll is this upcoming weekend. That is going to be October 30th. So you have plenty of time to still get out there for early voting. I do want to mention a couple of websites that we talked about earlier, and these websites will help you. Anybody, if you're listening, anybody, if you want to relay this information to anybody that may need it, because we don't have all the answers. We don't have all of the information that's out there, but there are definitely websites that do. So one big one is vote411.org. Now, this particular website, it'll assist you with making a voting plan. It'll assist you with verifying if you're a registered voter. We had a couple of questions earlier about, am I eligible? Am I registered? That will help you find out if you are registered, and it will also help you find out what's on your ballot. Like we talked about earlier, it gives you those sample ballots. And if we're talking about specific counties, you can definitely go to dallascountyvotes.org. If you're in Dallas County, it'll give you a lot of that information. Votedidn't.gov will also give you the same information for Denton County. And then if you're in Collin County, you can go to collincountyvotes.com. Brothers, do you have anything else that you would like to leave us with?
I'll go first because I know Ben gonna bring the house down. All right, so I think kind of what I want to leave just our audience with on tonight is most importantly, educate yourself on the people that's on the ballot. Early vote, and make sure you take someone with you. I think that's so important. Rather than investing all your energy on social media, complaining or pushing those things out, take that energy to the polls and most definitely exercise your civic duty to vote. I think that's going to be super important. That's all I have. I appreciate your time. I'll turn it over to Brother Jackson.
I feel like I'm in a pulpit or something. What I will say is Fannie Lou Hamer celebrated this would have been her 105th birthday. And she said she was sick and tired of being sick and tired. And so in the spirit of Fannie Lou Hamer, Dr. King and our ancestors, but not just that only. P. Hut, when you talked about the things of your daughters going to school and ensuring that they're safe, you talked about gun safety and all these other important issues that we've faced over these last 4 years. We can't squander these next 2 weeks, these 2 weeks that we find ourselves in. And that's why it's a state of emergency, and we have to employ our people and the communities that we serve. Please get out and vote. It matters. It's important. And we can't continue to do the same thing and expect different results. And when we mobilize African Americans to get out and go vote, they will do the right thing. So that's why it's so important that you push up the numbers and ensure that we vote our maximum strength at this coming election. And so that's where I leave it with, and I look forward to part 2, to where we make the connection between issues and that ballot, and they educate our community more, because once you equip them, then they'll have the power to get out and do the right thing.
Thank you, brothers, for joining us tonight. This has been Road New Lambda TV. If you would like to for us to tackle a topic, or if you would like to send us information that can assist us on Road New Lambda TV, please feel free to shoot us an email at roadnewlambda@gmail.com. You can also reach out to us on our social media platforms, which hopefully you're watching on right now. On Facebook, it is Road New Lambda Alphas. Our Instagram is also PNL Alphas. And if you would like to visit our website, it is Road New Lambda 1906.org. So you can always find out information there. I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight, and we look forward to seeing you for part 2 of this midterm election session. Thank you.